Perfect.
I think it's
We've got
going
a
to
theme
Facebook.
song.
We'll find out later.
Our theme song is now being written. All right, here we go. We're going live. Guys, hey, the Pulmonauts Collective. Here we are. It is Tuesday evening here in the East Coast, afternoon over there on the West Coast.
Yeah.
How we doing tonight, guys?
Fantastic, dude.
It's beautiful out here today.
Yeah. Well, it's been a rainy
Sunshine
day.
in Washington.
Been a rainy day here in Indiana. It looks like all of you guys are having a very nice day. And hey, I've had a wonderful day. It's just it's been rained on a lot today. So, but hey, that's all good.
Same. We've had nice big booming thunder echoing across the mountains. It's been a good one.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
We don't dig the thunder and
Jesse.
I don't dig the thunder and lightning in California where I live right now. No lightning.
Doesn't happen.
Just thunder. Well, without the electrical discharge that is required to make that noise, if you can. Bend space and time for me.
Okay.
Only in California.
Yeah.
Do a lot of breath work for that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's breath work to calm us down and to get us more into the flow. But hey, guys, tonight, the Pulmonauts Collective, tonight what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about our stories and really kind of, first of all, I just want to thank Chris. Thank you so much for this idea. And I got to say, this little group here, we had so much fun. We can't get enough. And so we've, just for everybody watching, we've been like blasting each other with Facebook instant message and things like that. It'll be funny. Like part of the day, I've got one of these smart watches. So every time someone says something, I get a little vibration here. So I'll be driving and it's like vibrate. And I'm like, man, I want to get in on this conversation, but I got to get to my destination. And so.
Well, hey, Jesse, I got to say thank you to Chuck for connecting me into you guys in the first place, because none of this would have happened without him.
Thank you, Chuck.
So thank you, Chuck.
Hello.
And also for Chuck for leading in Poland when I was there. He was the instructor that was there, and that's how we got to know each other as well. So thank you for being a badass.
I like Poland.
Awesome. Yeah, you've been a few times. When I was in Poland, here's a true story. I had an amazing time, and I was on my way out, and I didn't think I was going to get to see Chuck. But out of just this beautiful, happy coincidence, he flew in before I flew out, and we got to meet up in Poland. And I'm trying to think of the last time. Let's see, the last time I had seen you was in San Jose, I think. Before that, but I had forgotten to get my wife anything from the trip, and he saved me in many ways. So I want to thank you for that.
Yeah, to be fair, you were sleep deprived and exhausted.
Oh my God.
When we leave Poland, you wake up at like 5 a.m. You've been having fun the night before.
Yes.
And you may have had too much fun, like I do, with the whiskeys that they have there. And then you have to get on a bus and go back to Prague. And
they had this stuff called blue wine, which was red, but they called it
glue wine. GLU stands for hot spiced wine.
Yeah.
Glue wine.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, maybe I didn't quite understand what they were trying to tell me, but yeah. So, I mean, it's your last night, and like I had done 2 weeks straight, and when you're doing this in Poland, I mean, it's a lot of activity. I mean, you're doing things all day long and all night long, and then, but you want to celebrate, you want to kind of, hey, this was great. I'd gotten to know a lot of people over those 2 weeks. And so, the next morning when we woke up at like god awful 30,
that's an actual time.
Oh, dude, I woke up, looked straight at my watch. It is god awful 30, and we got on the bus, and like it was. So by the time I had gotten to you,
it was 6 o'clock, and you'd already been up for 13 and a half hours.
Yeah, after waking up at god awful 30 and being up late the night before, and so it's a crazy time. But yeah, you had the clarity of thought, and you guided me through the local cuisine. So Yeah. So that
it's, you say guided through the local cuisine. And all I did was be like, hey, have you had the fried cheese sandwiches yet?
I mean,
and so there's a stand that sells fried cheese sandwiches and sausage. Why would I spend money to go anywhere else when they have fried cheese and sausages? Like and if you're vegetarian, they have food that's something for you. I hope. I don't know.
Maybe there's something, but
it's the Czech Republic. They have restaurants that are all vegan and stuff, but the outside street meat food stands, not so much.
Oh my God. Well, okay. Now Rob ducked out for just a second, or he turned his camera off for just a moment. I was going to introduce.
Well, I'm with you. Don't worry. I'm here.
Good. I'm glad you're here.
Yay!
Rob and I, we've been working together a lot lately, and unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, those of you guys who are tuning in tonight, he wasn't able to hook up his piano, but we got to hear Chris and I
wanted to share some music with you guys. So as a consolation prize, I'm gonna just hang out on the slack line.
You're just slackline it.
Slacking it up. I like it.
On the porch, hanging out with the fellow Pulmonauts in the world.
Yes.
Nice.
So,
oh man, yeah.
So hey, Chris, again, this is kind of your idea. Can you explain kind of what you want to like? First of all, for those of you guys who are unfamiliar with Pulmonaut, go ahead and explain that, and maybe talk about maybe what are the vague plans we have for that night. I mean, we're just going to hang out pretty much, but
yeah. So Pulmonaut is somebody who is exploring the pulmonary system. We're breath workers. We're people who are interested in the breath. We're people that have stories that come from the breath, and that have led us to having a basic and deep interest in breathing and all things breathing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like psychonauts are people that explore psychedelics. It's like a coined term for that. So for the breath workers of the world and people that are here, if you haven't heard of this yet, it's been coined a little bit. We're taking it on, the Pulmonauts. We're the Pulmonauts Collective. Go to Reddit and look up Reddit/r/Pulmonauts, and you'll find an entire subcommunity there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I first heard the name Pulmonaut in Breath from James Nestor.
Yes.
And I love that term. And I was like, yep, I'm going to steal what the author wrote because that's just amazing.
Thank you for bringing credit to that. That's also where I first heard it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's awesome.
And with Pulmonaut, it is a specialization of ours.
Right.
So, I mean, you can ask me about a couple other systems in the body, and I'm just going to look at you and be like, I should know more. I don't, though. I'm trying to learn more. But I keep hearing people say, oh, breathing is so simple. And I'm like, the more I study this, it is so not simple.
Right. Well, and the thing is, it's one of those things where I think like most disciplines that go very deep, right? It's one of those things where you can have an experience the very first day, right? You go to a breath session, right? Or if you guys were here, for those of you guys who were watching during World Breathing Day, right? Maybe. I know for a fact there were a few people that emailed me that was their first breathwork session.
Yeah.
Right? Wow. And I gotta say, wow, we put you through the ringer, really. But
yeah, hey, what an introduction.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging in there.
But good job, folks. Good to have you.
So, but like, you can feel something on your very first breath session, right? You can get there's an effect the very first time you can really on your first day, right? And I think that's where sometimes the misconception of, it's okay, I guess I know breath work now, right? It's just this, but the thing is, and like you say, Chuck, I mean, I started breath work pretty much, in a very serious way, right? With you, right? You and I and Rob, the three of us, we were in that first class with Wim. And, I had gotten into other styles of breath work. I had done a lot of breath work in, my own time, but that was whenever it really, really made the biggest, first big, huge step. Since then, yeah, wow, I'm still learning things.
Yeah.
Like there's still more day. Like, whoa, that's another thing,
Well, and Casper, he'd said something to us. He's like, you're going to run into people who will come to your workshops and suddenly they want to teach breath.
Right.
And anyone can have a passion to do it, but to take it that next level and learn the science and learn the basic principles behind it, and then be able to apply that cross modality. Mm-hmm. That's where our magic comes from. And it's not, that's what I love working with you guys specifically, toot that horn, is we're not like, it's just one thing. Everything else doesn't work. It's one thing. And if you don't do the one thing, you're against us.
Yeah.
I've never understood. I've had people be like, you teach Wim Hof and Buteyko? How do you not kick your own ass? I'm like, I don't know. I survived.
They go together. They work with each other.
Yeah. I feel like I'm using my lungs in both cases, right?
I know.
We can all agree that breathing is good for you.
Right. Got to do it.
Basic thing.
Yeah. And also it can be deleterious to your health, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
So, and that's the funny thing where it's like, and it's the same way I see parallels, with personal training and things like that. Like, there's a lot of people that mess their bodies up by exercising, and we can all agree exercise is great, right?
I've had two
if done right
so far.
If done right, exercise is great. If done wrong, it'll break you.
Yes. Yeah.
And same with breathing.
Yes.
I mean, think about the unconscious habits that people have of mouth breathing. Yeah. How do you breathe while you're talking? Do you breathe in through your mouth and ramp up your sympathetic nervous system the whole time?
Right.
Or do you take that time to rewire that and to breathe through your nose on the inhale while you're talking? And it's something that's taken me, I mean, like at 80% now, and I've been really seriously working on that for 2 months, just every day.
Well, and it's like a trifold thing. Rob was one of the first people that introduced me to, your mindset impacts your breathing. And from where I was coming from in the bar and the theater world, I was like, that sounds like some hippie, crunchy granola stuff. And he's like, nope. It's absolutely. Why do you think the third pillar of the Wim Hof method is mindset? And my response in Colorado is because they needed a third pillar.
They were just, they're like, well, what else can we say?
And mindset. And now it's, in my opinion, one of the most important things to cultivate is that proper mindset, the proper biomechanics behind it. And, what practice and principles are you using today? It's so much. It's never either or. It's both and.
Set your intention for every single breathing session you do. Have you ever gone into a breathing session where you don't set an intention? How much harder is it?
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, without an intention, and it may sound kind of flippant at first, but without an intention, what's the point, right?
Totally.
Because the point should be what you're doing the thing for, right? That's the point. Okay, why am I doing this breath work? Is it just because, I have nothing else to do? Or what's up?
I think it points to the importance of really looking at anything that we're doing from as much of a comprehensive and holistic perspective as possible. Yeah. Like it comes down to, you can just do breath, or you can just do the Wim Hof method breath work and do that all day long. And then you go to the gym and you're like hurting yourself and you're breaking your body. And you're like, well, why is this Wim Hof method breath work not fixing you know?
Yes.
You can, or vice versa. There's literally, it's one of these things where the more that we can start to exercise the different aspects of what it means to be a happy, healthy, and empowered human being, an empowered individual on this planet, empowered community of Pulmonauts, and really starting to connect to that full spectrum helps not only to guide the depth and the quality of the practice. So it adds layers of depth to what you're doing. The more well integrated we are, and the mindfulness is really a big part of that, the more we will be able to access more of that, really that complexity and depth of where we could take that practice. You could do 40 Wim Hof method breaths in a round,
right?
And you can just be taking, you can even be doing them correctly so that, you know, your diaphragm is working properly, you know, you're getting a full volume of air in your lungs. But then it gets so much more subtle than that. It's like, well, how does your posture change your ability to get that breath down into the body? Like, what is that actual bottom of the lungs? Is it something deeper than you've actually been imagining it truly is? What is the top? What does that top edge actually look like?
Yeah.
Like, how much does the intention, like Chris said, how much does the exact place that your mind is when you're taking that breath in affect the quality of your experience of what that breath is capable of? I mean, there's no end. And that's where, you know, people come in and they do some breath work and they're like, I'm ready to teach this. It's just breathing. It's easy.
Just breathe in and breathe out. That's it.
Yeah. Right.
It is a lifelong exploration. This is something that once it gets you excited, may it never become something that becomes mundane or boring in your reality. There's an opportunity to find nuance and depth for the rest of your life that's going to make you a better breather, going to lead to creative breathing practices and lifestyle choices. It's a lifelong journey. And I'm even us sitting here and having this conversation, having the Pulmonauts Collective is another layer of how breath work and teaching it and sharing it and experiencing it is evolving in our own lives right now. It's an evolving process, and who knows where it'll go from here.
Yeah.
If
absolutely.
you're a human being, breath work will work for you.
Yeah. It's humans only. That's the crazy thing that I learned. I was
good point.
When I was working on my book, and still I'm very, very fortunate to have a neuroscientist, neurophysicist for a friend, and I couldn't believe it. And he told me that human beings are the only species that can voluntarily control breath. And I was like, well, what about dolphins and beavers and all these, you know, it's all autonomic. There's the mammalian dive reflex. We all have had our share of conversations about that, but it's one of these things that we as human beings have this incredible gift to be able to influence our autonomic nervous system. And of course, a lot of other aspects we can do with breath work, but the autonomic nervous system is really, really key, right? Because humans are also one of the few, we're not the only species, we're one of the few species that change our own environments, right? So the beavers, they do that, okay? The beavers, they'll make the beaver dam and they change their own environment, right? But we've changed our environment so much that it has given us problems.
Yeah.
And everything else problems too, for that matter.
Right, that's true. And of course, they expound, but it's one of those things where we're going to be able, I really firmly believe that if we're going to be able to solve a lot of the problems that we've started, right? But a lot of the problems just in general, we have to be able to, work with our own psychology and physiology in a way that allows us to focus, allows us not to wring each other's throats. And that's why, again, that's another reasons why this is something that's very needed in the world today. You know, we've got polarization and people just don't want to be friendly. And it's like, okay, calm down. We don't have to be fight or flight. When you're in a state of fight or flight, everything is an enemy or a potential danger. And so I was talking about this in my breath mastery course the other day, and the question, and I'm trying to figure out how to make it into a joke. So maybe Chuck, you can help me, but we'll talk after. But the question is, if everyone could control their autonomic nervous system, and stay out of that state of fight or flight, right? Because think about this: when I am a jerk, right? When I'm a total asshole to people that I'm around, it's because I'm fight or flight, right? And I'm in the wrong state, right? That's always whenever I happen to be that jerk, right? Would there still be jerks? And I think there would be. I think there would still be jerks.
Is it possible? It's actually a really phenomenal question. Yeah. Is it possible to be an asshole?
Yeah.
In a state of parasympathetic, like homeostasis and adrenal regulation. Can you be an asshole in that state? Is it possible? Chuck.
Yeah, it's just called tact at that point.
Then it's intentional though.
Yeah, well,
then it's not. You're not being an asshole from your point. You're being tactful, or
That's Winston Churchill. Tact is the ability to tell someone to go to hell and have them expect to enjoy the ride. And it's that tact. It's tact is that part of it where you're just,
you're calmly telling someone to go to hell, right? Yeah.
Honesty without compassion is brutality.
No, you're right.
And I would say stuck in fight or flight, there is less compassion, and it is a more brutal honesty where we become that asshole.
Right. And we're likely to actually punch the guy in the face.
Yeah. To be in that calm state, you may have more tact, and people may actually want to listen to you, because I'm not pointing at them saying, you're doing this, that's making me this. If beyond the nervous system, if everyone would take responsibility for their own feelings.
Yeah. Yes.
Like that's the first step, to stop. Like so-and-so made me mad. No, someone did something you didn't like and now you're pissed off.
Right.
Stop giving other people the responsibility for how you feel. It's called self-esteem for a reason, and self-control for that matter.
I believe I think Epicurus said that for every offense you take, you at least take half of the responsibility for taking that offense. Right. And so, it's
take 100% of that.
It's like,
100, like literally I believe that the prison of like living in a state of not being in your stoked and most like superhuman place is when you are not taking responsibility for something you're experiencing. Like 100%.
100% of it.
Full tilt responsibility for something in our field. And then we have the opportunity to change our response. Mm-hmm. And remember, like what we're doing, breath work and mindfulness. What is this? This is response. How do you respond? When you shove your body in the ice cooler, how do you respond? Well, you're doing those holds and the fear starts to trickle in, like, I need to breathe. How do you respond?
Yeah.
Like, and when somebody does something that you don't like, how do you respond? And in our culture, we're not taught to take responsibility for our feelings. And I believe that breathwork is probably one of the single most important vehicles to helping people to reestablish more of the ability to be able to make that kind of leap instead of having a gut response, that instinctual fight or flight response to something that you don't like or am not enjoying, and being able to take a step back, witness what's happening in your body, and then adjust through the, using a mental game of some sort, using some sort of mental imperative to adjust the physiological and emotional experience that you are having in a given moment. I think that's inherent to human potential, but it's one of the most important things that has been completely obliterated by Western culture.
It's the knowledge that we've forgotten. Like that's what we're practicing with breath work. It's creating that separation between the response and who we are and what we're doing, and that courage of being able to say, hey, this is how I feel, and I know that I can influence myself into another state. And that's where, like, I want to know what each of your stories are.
Yeah.
What brought you into this? Where are you coming from? What was it that you wanted to create in yourself to make yourself, what did you heal? What did you turn into your most powerful strength from whatever that was?
Jesse? You've got the most magnificent beard. That means you go first.
I
couldn't agree more.
Yeah, that's what that means.
I just had it. I was like flexing it. I didn't even mean to. I'm sorry, guys.
And like
That would be me.
What's the essence? What's the essence of that story? Like the essential parts.
Yeah, and this is something where I think, one of my most common phrases that you hear me say, and any student or anyone that ever goes to a workshop or attendee of any event that I do, is that all of these things that we do, but we'll talk about breathwork specifically because that's our main focus. It is a practice. It's not a performance. And right. And so, because I am never going to be completely fine, right? I'm constantly in flux my whole life. And that's if you are a living person who is actually living and trying to go out and do things. And even if you're not trying to go out and do things, no matter what, you are going to experience all the flux within a day, within one day. Just how many different people enter, how many voices, how many emotions into your mind. And so for me, my story was that my first way to try to handle this thing that is the human condition, because we all think, man, it's just, there's something wrong with me. If there's something wrong with you, there's something wrong with just the human condition, right? And there's something wrong with all of us, I should say, is really the reality of it. But my first motivation was like, okay, I need to silence all of this. This is just too much, right? Now, so for me, what I did is I turned to drugs, and I was a opioid addict for 10 years of my life, slave. And it worked really well. I just turned out.
Where are you going with the opium addict story? It was great.
And the moral of the story is, kids, just pop a pill and it's fine. So no. The thing is,
I hope nobody ends listening to this.
Let's keep going.
Wait a minute. I got it. No, I'm teasing. The reality is that drugs and alcohol do a very good job in the immediate, but they're terrible long-term fixes, right? The human experience is stronger than that. And what it happens is whenever you use drugs to mask your emotions or to try to flatten out the waves that is the human experience, what happens is you end up just having those waves will eventually come crashing right back into you. And so my breathwork story really started with, I wish I had known about breathwork when I was trying to get over my addiction, but I didn't. And but what I did realize was that I did have to take, it goes right back to what we were just talking about. I had to take responsibility for my own emotions, my own state. I had to take responsibility for taking care of myself, as if I'm a person who needs to be taken care of. There are certain things where I had to say, no, I have to take responsibility. I have to face this. And so what happened from that point was, long story short, was me looking for tools that were not, drugs that were positive, that were things that were sustainable over the course of my lifetime, things that I could say, okay, this is going to make me a stronger, happier, healthier person. And I started with fitness. I got into weight training on a joke. My roommate, I did something. Okay. So as I was quitting this addiction, which I'm not going to go into the crazy details, but it was a very, very heavy addiction for 10 years. My last year, as I was weaning myself off, I started grad school, and I don't recommend anybody. I mean, that was a big thing, but I will say what I was doing was, and this is what I do recommend, I was deciding to be something. I was going to give myself a direction as opposed to just being a not addict anymore. So I was going in a direction. And then I was looking for tools to help me move on with my life and to become stronger, healthier. And also I still had all those emotions to deal with. I still had all the things that had brought me to those dark times. So eventually I got into meditation, found out I was terrible at meditation. And I started looking for for things that would maybe help, and stumbled upon pranayama. And about the same time I stumbled upon yoga, and about the same time I stumbled upon Wim Hof. And from there, I was just really hooked. And I still wake up, after I published a book on breath work, I'm still learning things about breath work and how the body and the mind work together, and how it's really all the same thing. But every day I still wake up and I can't believe that it still works, that it's a thing, And so for me, it's all about tools, and I'm still looking for more tools. That's why I love working with you guys. There's always things I'm picking up and learning. I've been eating dandelions out of my yard ever since I went to hang out with
They've got so many antioxidants in them.
I mean, it's just like my kidneys are just functioning so well. But that's my story. And that's one of those things where breath is something that I use. I don't just have a part of the day where I do breath work. It's all the time. And you guys, I know, you know that, right? But just for those of you guys who are listening, breath work isn't just a thing I do in the mornings when I get up or whatever before bed. It is all day long, because I always have emotions and sensations, and all these things are constantly happening. But guess what? We have a way we can throttle things back or crank it up maybe, before I go work out or do something active.
It's those rituals, man.
Mm-hmm. And that's my story. That's my story.
Yeah, man, that's beautiful. And so, I mean, we have so many different diverse backgrounds here. It's so beautiful.
Yes.
And I'd never heard your story before. I've known about you, but I've never really seen the actual story from you like this. So thank you for being vulnerable about that and for sharing where you come from and what you're about. Yeah.
Sure.
It's good to get to know you. And I'm
Absolutely.
sure for everybody out there too, this is so cool.
Yeah.
Chuck.
Hello.
When are you guys?
I'll go.
God.
So I got diagnosed as a type 1 diabetic about 9 years ago. And I was just kind of going through the motions. I've worked in the theater industry. I'd had a master's degree in theater at that point, and I've worked in the bar industry for 16 years. So basically my jobs were mainlining stress. It was either 300 drunk people screaming at me, or a production crew and actors screaming at me, and all of them in different states of emotional sobriety. So I'm not dealing with any group of people that likes to be sober. And I was just subsisting. I'd been in a bunch of car accidents. I'd been in physical altercations. I had a bunch of anger issues. And what a lot of people don't tell you about anger issues is you can get addicted to the violence. You can get addicted to that rush. There is a certain rush when someone hits you and you're like, oh, it's on. What I am doing right now is base survival. And if I mess up, this guy and his 3 friends are going to fucking stomp me. So I would try and avoid and diffuse a fight. But if it went for it, that allowed me to just let go and have that emotional release. And that emotional release was like, that's what I was addicted to, is being able to just purge and have that cathartic, someone hit me in the face today, but I feel great. And that's, I don't know if anyone's told you, but getting punched in the head to relax is not really the most beneficial way to go through life. And one guy told me one Monday night, he's high on drugs, and he says, hey, if you do this breath work, it'll help. And I was like, go home. I don't care. And he's like, I'll go home if you do the breath work. So I did it and I felt great. And I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. I signed up for an advanced class, and I get there and I'm like, so what's the advanced class? And I say, welcome to instructor training. Pardon?
What?
Yeah. And they said, wait, did you read this? I said, no, it said advanced. So I signed up. So what are we at now? They're like, you're in instructor training. Do you want to be here? And I was like, sure, let's do it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, I did not know I'd signed up for instructor training. I just thought I took an advanced class where Wim was going to be there. I didn't read it. I'm from California. I don't have time to read. Please. It just said advanced Wim Hof. And I was like, I want to meet this guy. Let's go. As I said, I was not really in a clear-minded state. So I just impulsively booked it. And I get there and there's amazing people. I was like, wow. And Wim says, so, thanks for doing the breath work, but you did all the work. Thanks for trying my method out to help your problems. Congratulations on having some results. And I was like, wait, say that again. He said, yeah, it's not about me. And if you become an instructor, make sure you realize it's not about you. All you're doing is showing them a door they can walk through, and it's their choice to walk through it. From then on, I was like, you got me. I'm in. Because there's so many training regimes out there where it's like, if you train with me, I'll make you the best human in the world. I'm like, no, because I'll pay you. And then out of spite, I'll be like, I'm not doing anything. I'm not the best human, and I paid you. Come on. And so that's what I love about breath work is we can show you the tools. And if you don't do them, it's not on me.
Yeah, that's true.
So being able to just, and that's not the same in the bar. If I get someone drunk and they get a car accident, I can't separate myself from the fact that I had a hand in that. And in California, you're actually responsible for that person. So not being in an industry anymore where I am responsible for the poor choices of others, that's freeing. and to be here, and I've totally changed. I don't work it. I fill in sometimes if, someone needs help, but not because I need to, but because I enjoy it now. And I get to work with amazing people. I get to work with amazing doctors, and we get to push the envelope on what we think is possible to help accelerate healing within people. So, I mean, all of those accidents, all of that pain I was in is coming full circle and actually helping people. So your pain can be of value if you learn not to suffer from it. And that's what all of the breathwork practices have taught me is, no, pain is going to be a daily part of my life. I have 2 compressed discs in my spine. I've had traumatic brain injury. I twitch. That's okay. But I don't have to suffer from that pain. I can respond to it with a relaxed demeanor, with a relaxed mindset, and I can be aware of that signal, but I can move past that stress and live a fuller life, even with it. Yeah. So that's why I still do breath, is just to have that full life and experience the whole range of emotions, not just this little bitty band I'm told I'm supposed to enjoy. Always be happy. Be everything. And that's my story in a nutshell.
I love that, Chuck. That's so good. Rob, you're up. That's so good.
Oh boy. Oh, where to begin? Well, I mean, I guess to say where I came from, I came from a world where that just made no sense to me as a child. And by the time I was 18 or 19, I was playing sports, but I really sucked at them because I didn't have the right anything, aggression, passion, any of those kinds of things. I mean, I was 240 pounds for my, I'm 5'8".
I never believe you when you say that.
Yeah. I've got stretch marks to. I wear them with pride. Actually, I'm like, that's from that era. But I started smoking cigarettes and pot at the age of 13, and I really, I like society and life just kind of bulldozed me into a place. Where I then essentially hated myself. And then to the point where I even ended up getting meningitis and almost dying in the hospital at the age of 18. And it's interesting because there's that book about the emotional, that You Can Heal Yourself, Louise Hay. And she's got a whole thing in the back about all the emotional aspects of every physical illness that people get, and usually there's a paragraph in there for each one. But for meningitis, it just says extreme self-hatred, and I was like, yeah, that about covers it. So I've been to that. I've been down that portal. I've been to that point. Now, what brought me out of that is really. It's really hard to fully understand. Rock climbing became the first big one for me, and I got obsessed with rock climbing. Rock climbing became my little focus place. But what I was finding, and what made me obsessed with rock climbing, is that I would try a move, and I would look in this hole. It seemed like it was way far away, and how could I ever possibly get to this hole? And I would try it over and over and over again and fail and fail and fail. And then I'd make one little adjustment. I'd like turn my hip in ever so slightly. I would twist my toe. I would do something, and all of a sudden this thing that I could not do and seemed impossible suddenly became possible. And then after that, I could do it every single time that I tried it thereafter. And so at a young age, this is starting to create this inception. It's starting to teach me a different way of looking at the game and the challenge of living. And rock climbing led to, and lots of music playing, always playing the piano, playing percussion has always been sprinkling through the whole mix. But eventually just throwing myself at the world. So I'm the kind of person, I don't learn things through other people's vicariously. It's not a way that has ever worked for me. Instead, I've repeatedly thrown myself into the center of the fire, and then as I'm getting burnt, trying to figure out how to minimize the amount of burn that I'm getting and learn something in the process. I've gotten way better at it over the years, but early on, like when I was 20, like I bought a one-way plane ticket to South America with a slack line and a djembe. I didn't speak the language. I didn't know anything. And I just threw myself at a whole nother world for a year. And had all kinds of crazy adventures. Ended up having to steal horses, almost got lost in the Patagonian wilderness. Accidentally became the youngest person to solo the tallest mountain outside of the Himalayas. The circus troupe, and hitchhiked across the Andes. Eventually broke into Machu Picchu in the cover of darkness, almost got sent to a Peruvian prison. Escaped on a train that almost got clipped by a tunnel, and like all sorts of crazy experiences. But basically what it all amounts to is I kept throwing myself more and more into the world. And what I was really looking for is what is the essence of the magic. Like there's got to be more to living a human life than just waking up and going to your job and then going home and watching television, and just kind of the acceptance of this mundanity was something that I realized that I had no tolerance for it. So what is there instead? What is the thing? And that led me to the slackline yoga and acro yoga and teaching other wilderness yoga and things like that. I actually helped seed yoga festivals all over the world for a while, bringing that somatic playground with all the acrobatics and the slack lines and the aerial rick and all that kind of stuff. And eventually, it led me to the Wim Hof method, and it led me to really focusing on the breath, because really for me, the desire has been to share this whole time. What tools can I share that are going to have the greatest impact on people? And where my vision refined to eventually was, how can I live my life in the greatest state of experiential excellence, and impeccability that I possibly can, so that I can be the best example of that kind of lifestyle that I can possibly be for the people around me. And that has been the most earth-shatteringly humbling thing ever, because when that's the intention, anything that's not that is magnified like by 10. And so I've also had to learn not to judge myself for also simultaneously still just being a normal person, just being and so finding a way to justify that goal. I love that goal. I stand by it. Like I want to be like as excellent as I can in everything that I do. And part of that is not judging myself when I'm not that, or not whatever I
Yeah.
envision that to be. Because instead I go down the cycle of beating myself up, which is exactly the opposite of being that thing.
Yeah.
And I've spent a lot of time doing that. Trust me, I've spent huge amounts of time beating myself up for things where I wasn't meeting that expectation. So once again, it goes back, it ties right back in. It's like through the breath, it's finding that peace with what is in a given moment. And I can be angry and pissed and frustrated, and I can still be in my excellence by how I respond to it. You know, I can be sad and even in a state of, you know, depressed emotion, and I can be in my relation with excellence by the way that I respond to it, by the way that I meet it. And a lot of it comes down to that self-esteem, self-love, self-care. You know, there's still that little person, that there's still that me that inside of me that had all that self-loathing when I was a teenager. It's not gone.
Right.
But now, instead of controlling me and inform and subconsciously, you know, creating my actions, it's informing me and creating contrast for me to better understand the world around me, the people around me, and the different situations that I encounter along the way.
I love that because really developing that awareness, right? That's the foundation. And then you can work with the tools that come from that. And, you know, I had Rob told me a lot of these stories, crazy stories. And not to mention, I mean, we're all looking for tools, you know, and I think that's awesome. That's fantastic, man.
Chris, I do believe it's your turn.
Yeah, Chris.
It's so beautiful to hear all of your guys' stories, and it's just so wonderful to see the different backgrounds that we come from, and yet how we meet here now. Like in the same place, with the same conclusions, with the same, you know, space. It's really, really magical. And this goes right back to what Rob was talking about finding the essence and the magic of life, and being able to share that with other people, and being an example of this for others, and really taking on, you know, being our own self-healers, because we can't heal or be an example for anybody else until we heal ourselves. And, you know, as with everyone, there's a lot to heal. And until we fill our own cups and overflow the change that we want to see in the world, you know, we can't do that until we do that for us. And then when we do that, we can start sharing it with others. And that's what's so beautiful to be able to meet you guys here, because you guys have been doing that. And that's like facing your shadows. That's the hard part. And turning it into your strengths, which is what I've seen each and every one of you have done. Which is, yeah, it's just like I'm honored to be in this room with you all and to be on this journey with each of you. Yeah, it's really, really cool. Okay, so my story. Yeah, from the age of 2.5, my first memory is being wheeled into a hospital on a gurney, not being able to breathe. With like 2 nurses on one side and a doctor on the other side, and they're taking this butterfly needle and shoving it in my hand. My hand's like as big as the butterfly needle thing is, and I don't know where my parents are at, and I'm just laying there like, can't breathe. That's like one of my very first memories. I think it actually is my very first memory. And so I had severe anxiety. I was hypersensitive to everything. I was allergic to literally everything. I'm still allergic to penicillin and guinea pigs.
Those bastards.
those bastards.
Yeah.
And yeah, so in my early life, you know, I was born with my umbilical cord wrapped around my neck 3 times. I had that happen. Dude, that's why I think that it has something to do with, anyways, this whole thing. I was born with my umbilical cord wrapped around my neck 3 times. And I carried that fear with me into life. And I was hypersensitive to everything. And so I'd be around a cat, I'd go to the hospital. I'd go outside and play in the hay, go to the hospital. You know, any of this stuff. I gained a fear of the dark. to where I was so afraid of the dark that at night I would just have that fear come in and that spiral occur and the breath not under control. And it would just lead to me having a panic attack, asthma attack. It's just, to me, it was the same thing. It could be a physical manifestation. I was in the hospital for my birthday, which is the day after Christmas, 4 years in a row, because I would get excited about my birthday and Christmas and have a panic attack and go to the hospital.
Oh.
So it didn't matter if it was positive. It didn't matter if it was negative. It was just anything out of the baseline state that could trigger me into this. And so I went through life until I was about the age of 13 with just this massive fear of not being able to breathe, whether that was just going to sleep at night or going for a swim or going for a run. I couldn't push myself. If I pushed myself, I'd end up in the hospital. So I had to numb everything, and I did it by mentally. I just put up walls. I put up emotional walls. I put up walls. I limited myself. I was like very average build, very white complexion, but because of the fact that I didn't have very much blood going through my system and I was constantly slightly hyperventilating and my CO2 levels were really far down, so everything was constricted. Yeah. And it wasn't until I was about 13 and I was in the I'm a Bulgarian citizen, a French citizen, and an American citizen. My grandparents live in Bulgaria, and I took a trip over to Bulgaria, and my mom and I were in the mountains in Bulgaria on this cart being pulled by a donkey. And we're like, so I have a choice. I'm either going to go back home and I'm going to start taking allergy shots every week or month or whatever it is, and things are going to continue the way that it is. And I'm going to be continuing, I was on all the nebulizers, I was on all the steroidal I was on everything you could possibly think of for asthma. Wasn't getting better. And with the steroids, it just gets worse because then you have your own crutch. My crutch was steroidal injections for asthma. That's how I survived. That's how I managed my stress. Sometimes when it worked. Or I was going to go back and we were going to make a pact and I was going to start getting better. And we made a pact. And slowly I started just looking for ways to make this better. I started meditating. I started eating a little bit better. I started just making these little changes. And it was over the course of another 6-ish years that my asthma slowly turned from what it was to exercise-induced asthma. And then that slowly started getting better. And then this started slowly getting better. And that was great that was happening. And what I later learned, what I was doing during that period of time was I was putting up such strong psychological barriers to emotion and to everything else that I was walling myself off from the sensitivity that I have in my heart and in my core. I wouldn't allow myself to be moved. And it wasn't conscious, which was what the issue was. So I went through life, and my defense mechanism was I was happy all the time. Mm-hmm. If you asked me how I was happy. How are you? How can I fix your problem? Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like, how can I heal another person? It was literally like, how can I fix whatever it is that you're dealing with? Because I was not, I wasn't in a place where I could holistically look at myself and others because I was bottling everything else inside. So fast forward a little bit more, I'm meditating, using that whole thing, trying to do the healthy eating, trying to manage myself. And I'd still have panic attacks that would come up during finals week, and I'd end up thinking that I'm dying, and then I'd somehow figure out how to get through that without having to go to the hospital. And 3 years ago, I was listening to Tom Bilyeu's podcast, Impact Theory, and I heard Wim. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Like, no way. Are you serious? Like, what? I could do this with breathing and putting myself into cold water, and I can start managing all this crap that I've been dealing with? And I knew there was something there, like this first time that I heard him talk. And the whole thing about no ego, about him just doing this because he wants people to be happy, healthy, and strong. Like, dude, thank you, Wim, for what you're doing for the world. Seriously. And I had like heard about pranayama and these other things, and they always occurred to me as just like too much spirituality wrapped into it. And I was young at the time also, and so I just never really dug into those things. So the way it was packaged and simplified and stepped through, he's still very spiritual, Wim. He has all that aspects, but he packaged it in a way that it wasn't. and just hearing it on Tom Bilyeu's podcast. I read the books. I signed up for the 10-week class. I signed up for the winter retreat was full the year that I did it, so I had to wait till the next year. Did the winter retreat, met Chuck, met Wim, and I remember doing one of the just regular power breathing sessions. And it was with Niall. And I just started crying and crying and crying and crying, and I was smiling, and I was just soaking my beanie. And I broke through I found out that I had moved my anxiety issues. I had demonized my own body. My mind was disconnected from my body, and I was constantly just telling my body what to do and being this like master of it rather than being a partner with it. And my mind was always constantly trying to protect me from my body that had been trying to kill me my whole life. And in that power breathing session, I combined those two, and I just remember saying over and over again, I promise for the rest of my life, and I know that I will fail on this many, many times, I will always come back to, I honor my body, I'm there for you, body, mind, soul, spirit, whatever that is. Those things are there to be in alignment with each other. They're all working together. Your body's there. You should trust your freaking body. It's just trying to keep you alive.
Right.
It's there for you.
Yes.
And I had just like totally cut myself off from it for so long. And since then, it's just been this journey of how can I connect mind, body together, influence sympathetic, parasympathetic, choose that state to be in when I'm feeling the anxiety come up, which I do daily all the time. And it manifests, you find those places, but the knowledge that we have, the simplicity of it, and it's simple, and we're rewiring lifetimes of unconscious breathing habits and ways of being. Mm-hmm. So it is not easy to apply and to change those habits. But I am just honored to be here on this journey with you all to provide this and to be purveyors of this as the Pulmonauts Collective and everything that we do in our individual businesses and as our individualities. There's 8 billion people in the world, and we all of us, every single, not just us four, but everybody together that's in the breathwork community, the Pulmonauts community, we're all going to resonate with different people.
Right.
It's beautiful. There's infinite opportunity. Possibility
here.
That
I just got to say, that was a great story.
Thank you.
A lot of what you said resonated with me. I'm like, I can relate to that. So,
wow. It's a crazy journey, man.
Yeah. and just kind of checking in. I mean, I'm assuming that you've seen, improvements in
oxygen advantage.
Yeah.
The thing is also with all of us, we use all these different modalities. Like Wim Hof method is fantastic for breaking through the trauma and for really getting in those deep states. And for me, like being able to push into that state of anxiety, man, every time I do that, I get to practice a little bit more and be a little bit more comfortable the next time a panic attack starts coming up. Because I do it intentionally, right? So you push towards those things where they were our greatest weaknesses before. The breath used to be like death to me.
Yeah.
Like it was my biggest freaking fear.
Right.
Now I went free diving, man. If you would have asked me to go free diving years ago, no way. I would have gone down 5 feet and been like,
right.
Now, like my first time I get down to 71 feet and I'm like looking up and I'm like,
dude,
this is super cool.
Yeah.
It's because of practicing, the oxygen advantage and the hypocapnic training and the breath holds and all that stuff. And it's because you guys are out here doing this stuff. I've read your freaking book, Jesse. Chuck got me into leading breath work for free for people because he's like the most generous person I've ever met in my entire life. Like,
thank you,
Rob. I don't even know you very much, but we're gonna freaking do a thing together in July and like get to slackline together. And your story is incredible, man. And these vulnerable conversations that we're having now are what people are going to connect with.
Yeah.
And,
absolutely. And the thing is, this is what I keep coming back to is like, this is like the beginning. This is just the beginning of this movement, right? So cool. And it's something that, it's like Chris, you mentioned it before, it's this ancient thing. It's not like we just somehow invented breath, but here in the West, and I talk about it a little bit in my book, and I did some research. I'm like, why has it taken so long? Right. What is it? Why, but hey, this is the time. And what an amazing time to be alive. Yes, there's lots of problems, but there's, the most underreported story that I can think of is what's going on right here and out there, and with anybody who's willing to, like we say before, take responsibility. That's what it is. Like, I mean, this is just a tool. And if you take responsibility for your own emotions, your own physiology, your own health, your own life, there's amazing things that you can do. So sounds like is an airplane about to land?
No, sorry. There's a book that I'm trying to remember the name of, and it's all about taking 100% responsibility. It's written by two Marines.
Extreme Ownership?
Yes, Extreme Ownership. Thank you.
Yeah.
That book, everybody read that book.
It's a good book.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, absolutely. I
was looking at my bookshelf.
There was a while, Akira the Don made an album of Jocko saying Jocko things.
Really?
And then like just some really cool music behind it. I for the longest time, I listened to that the entire time I worked out, just over and over and over again.
Can you send that to me? Or like, I want
that.
Yeah. I want to listen to that.
Literally, just go to Spotify.
Okay.
Do you have Spotify?
Yeah.
Okay, just go to Spotify and search for Akira the Don Jocko. And he did it for Goggins. He did it for but Jocko specifically is my favorite one.
Got it.
And it's just like,
I'm so stoked for that.
Hey, really big thanks to Spectre in the Air. Spectre in the Air. He says, I'm new to Wim Hof, still working through fundamentals course. Really positive so far. Thanks. Rob, he gave me some chocolate money. So
yeah,
I'm gonna be sending a new order. I was saying this on my live the other day that I'm almost out of chocolate already.
You took so much home with you.
What I've been doing,
the new addiction.
The thing is, Rob told me all about how good for me it is, and it's also insanely delicious. So I'm like, to your health, Jesse.
Dude, next time we gotta all have a bar.
Yes,
I'm in.
Yes. Oh, dude.
Unfortunately, Rob, we're all gonna have to place orders. That's just what's gonna have to happen. And if you want to order, it's Mandala Springs Chocolate, right? That's your chocolate company?
So Mandala Chocolate. Mandala Springs is the land that I'm on, that Mandala Chocolate is made at, and where some of the herbs and mushrooms that are used in the chocolate come from.
Yes.
That's so awesome, man.
Hey, you know what? While we're on the subject, let's just kind of go around, mention kind of what we're working on, what we're doing, and then wrap it up. Rob, you were already starting. Rob is a chocolatier, so go get some chocolate. What else is going on in Robland?
Well, so Mandala Chocolate, mandalanaturals.com. Mandalasprings.com is the way that you can check out the Human Empowerment and Ecological Retreat Center that we have here, and we're expanding currently and turning into something really inspiring and beautiful. And we're hosting all sorts of wonderful things here. We're doing the Convergence in July. We're doing multiple Wim Hof Method retreats. We're hosting a long form program called the Sacred Naturalist School, going deep into learning everything about the plants and mushrooms and animals, tracking, getting embodied, learning how to move in the primitive gait, learning how to use your peripheral vision, learning how to read the stars, basically feel completely comfortable in your body on planet Earth without any, without any of the trappings of modern society, and really just feeling at home as a natural part of the planet. Also, another aspect of what I feel like is really important, it's an important piece of the human experience, is to be intimately connected to your natural environment. And so that's something that I'm really passionate about sharing. The chocolate is a representation of that. Everything that we're teaching and sharing is a representation of that. And this land with the springs and the national forest and boulders and everything is an embodiment of that. And so I am stoked.
Well, I was out there a couple of weeks ago. Awesome. We were drinking water straight from a natural spring. I was like, all right, let's do this. And don't forget, Rob, I'll just go ahead. I'll take the next one because this kind of it dovetails. I will be in Mandala Springs. Let's see. We're looking at the second Wim Hof Method weekend. So guys, make sure to sign up for that. Go to my website, jessecoomer.com. It's Jesse, Coomer, Coomer. So jessecoomer.com. It is on there. It's also, you can go to wimhofmethod.com and look at Rob's page, and you'll find that. That is on the May 15th and 16th. But a lot of people are staying the night. So a lot of people will show up on May 14th, camp or rent the tiny house, or there's a lot of different structures you can rent there if you don't want to camp. And then the next morning we do the fundamentals. And then on the 16th, we'll be doing the advanced. Now, let me just say, if you've never done power breathing surrounded by ancient stones of the Appalachians with the sound of a hand drum and then my voice booming at you to make sure you're continuing to breathe, there's nothing like it. It really is, as far as the location goes, one of the, out of all the places I go, it's my favorite to visit. I love coming out to see Rob. The chocolate doesn't hurt, but it's a fantastic thing. And then of course we'll be doing the Convergence in July. Right now I'm also doing the 6-week breath mastery course, which is an online course that we do. It's a 6-week cohort. Every week we get together and we do a live class. It's not just pre-recorded stuff that you kind of have to kind of work your way through. So I actually teach the live class. And then I also have some homework that everybody does. And we do that for 6 weeks. And by the end of the 6 weeks, you will have your own personalized breathing practice, not just this person's technique, that person's technique. You're going to be able to test. I teach you how to test how your autonomic nervous system is responding to certain things. It's a very in-depth course. And the next cohort will be coming up in June. Nice. So I should be having tickets available for that very soon, but it's something where it's an online experience anywhere in the world. And we're going to be meeting on the June experience. Should be ticketing probably in the next couple of weeks. So that is, and then of course, hey, just going all over the place, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Anyway, that's what I got. What up?
Class sounds amazing, man.
Awesome.
I think Chris and I are doing something on May 12th called the International Nurses Breathing Community Initiative.
Nice. The International Nurses Week Community Breath Initiative. I had to read it off the screen.
Yeah, I tried to freestyle it and I just couldn't do it. It's at May 12th at 8 p.m. Pacific. It's free. Share it with all of the nurses, doctors and it's social workers, that whole group. And it's basically just to show them that, thank you for all the work you're doing. It's on Florence Nightingale's birthday, so there's that built into it. And it's open to everybody. It's being sponsored by, of course, Chris and I, and then Esotico Pasta is one of our sponsors right now. So, thanks, guys. Or guy. It's actually one guy.
It's the whole company. Yeah. It's quite a few of them.
And it's after that, May 22nd and 23rd in Los Angeles. I've got an advanced and fundamental workshop back-to-back. And July 15th, 16th, and 17th, I've got an event in Yosemite for one person if they'd like to go. Other than that, I just travel around, and anyone who wants to breathe, let's do it.
Yeah.
Hey, you've also got Mondays at 9 p.m.
Oh, that's true.
Sundays at 11 a.m. And then I also have the Wednesdays at 6:30 a.m. Free breathworking sessions for all. So check out all of that information. It's on Chuck's website, Ice Viking Breathworks.
How to get in touch with me is pretty awesome. Thanks, Chris.
Uh-huh. Share that too.
I forget certain things. I don't.
It's little things.
Little things. Thanks.
Yeah, and so there's one more thing as well. So tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., we're doing a live stream conversation with Chris Wurden, who is an RN, registered nurse. I believe she's also bringing one or two of her other nurse friends or people that she works with. And we're just going to have a discussion. You know, the 6th of May is the first day of International Nurses Week. So it's a whole week-long thing. Like, if you know any nurses, just tell them how much you appreciate them. Get in their world, see what they're dealing with, see what support you can give them. You know, just bring. We all want to bring awareness to this and to that community, because they really are on the front lines and they're doing amazing work, saving people's lives and doing all of the things. They deal with stress on a daily that we have not even a clue about what it is that they deal with. So tomorrow's live interview is just about asking them, really, what do you need? You know, what do you need? What type of stress management tools are you taught? Do you know of? What comes standard in the schooling that you get? Because we don't know this, and we want to know how big of an impact can we make, and how many different things can we provide to you on that event on the 12th at 8 p.m. PST. So join us for the live stream tomorrow. We're going to have those conversations, and then on the event on the 12th, it's going to be an introduction Q&A. Really just a big acknowledgement for everyone and everything that you're going through and what you're doing, and just thank you for being there. A breathwork session led by both Chuck and I, and then followed by just as much Q&A as people stick around for. We don't even pretend to know everything that you go through, and we just want to get into your world and see what you can ask us, given what we know, and just so that we can share all of that knowledge with you. So share the event. It's on Facebook with the Human Activation Movement. You can find Chuck. He's a moderator of it. I'm a moderator of it. Esotico Pasta with Barry Bronson is a moderator as well on there. So just search for it. We'll be sharing it a lot. And share to the communities and the groups on social media that you know that it would make a difference for, please.
Awesome.
That's what I got.
And reach out to any of us.
Yeah.
If any of our stories resonated with you and you're like, I'm not sure if I should reach out, the answer is yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Totally.
Man.
Just reach out. We're here. We're normal. We're going through the same stuff you guys are going through. All we know how to do a little differently is what our breath can do for us. So reach out. We're here to help.
Well, hey guys, thanks so much. This has been an awesome conversation, I gotta say.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
I love this. I'm looking forward to more of this in the future for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks everybody.
Please and thank you. And may the force be with you, because it's
Yes.
the fourth.
May the fourth be with you.
I had to as ranking nerd.
There it is. Han shot first, guys.
Han shot first,
Don't forget
absolutely.
All right, everybody. Well, this has been a lot of fun. We will be doing this again as often as we possibly can because we feel like it. It's so fun.
My dad went to the chocolate website and he's ordering some.
No. All right, guys. Thanks for everybody tuning in. We are off.